Okay, so as you can see today, Peter and I actually for one in the same space, which is right here. It's amazing to have that for once. Doesn't happen very often.
I'm the luckiest man alive, I
Yeah.
can tell you, everybody.
Right. Thank you for the compliment. And you look like you're in some amazing location. Is that your usual spot?
That that is where I often do my calls because on the boat the Wi-Fi is kind of terrible, but I have some great friends on what is called the base camp, and there is a greenhouse which is already full of Christmas decorations, and this is where I then can have the finest internet and have connections with everything.
Oh, amazing. It looks beautiful, Yup. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as we said, we're joining live from Altbach, and Katharina, who's here on the screen with us, is just a few meters away in the hotel next door, also in Altbach. And Wolfgang, I heard from you that you would have joined if you hadn't been ill. So I hope you're feeling okay and you get this tiny little sliver of Altbach through us today. Yeah, so we thought maybe today we spend a moment to just share some glimpses with you about what is happening here and what we're learning. So Peter and I are participating in a summit which is part of the Hearth Summit series. And the Hearth Summits were created for socialpreneurs, change makers, NGO workers, globally to join forces, to find inspiration together, to connect the initiatives that they're working on. And this is the Austrian edition that we are now participating in. Yeah, Peter, I'm wondering sort of what, it's been a day and a half essentially because we had a very long night yesterday. What are you taking away so far?
Well, hello, everybody. It takes me some time to digest what's going on, so it's difficult to find words yet. But just to share a little bit of the process, what we're doing here, the theme is regenerative culture, actually, looking at what's going on in the world. And the organizers have divided it into two parts. And the first part is really about death, what needs to die right now. So, in effect, we're being led through or into, you could say, death processes, or they like to call it autumn, I'd call it winter. They're leading us into winter rather than autumn. And then we've had some inspirational presentations amongst this. Part of the inspiration is just very, very deep sharings that we've had from the people that have been invited to present about their deep failure death experiences, actually, starting already last night, which was quite touching. And today we've had two excellent presentations, more actually than two, but the two that stood out for me was the founder of the Hearth Summit, Nippon Meta, very, very clear about his journey and what he's created with his Hearth Summit, which is now a series of summits in different places, all about 8 or 9, I think, over the planet. And then Christian Felber, the founder of the Economy for the Common Good, who is a brilliant thinker and change maker, and his work is also going out. And I won't go into any details of what he presented, but he's a wonderful, wonderful articulator, presenter, and also athlete. So he did his usual headstand on the stage and rolling around like a baby.
He's very physical, so that
Very
was
physical, very
beautiful.
and yoga expert and so forth, and he combines it with a mental brain.
Yeah,
So that's
very
my brief.
brilliant.
But you've got some fantastic notes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
why
I
don't
show you what I've been scribbling away. Sort of, I always do this drawing notes, right? So everything is quite visual, or the next page. Um, So for me, yesterday, and I thought that might be something wonderful to connect to this group here today as well. What they invited us to do was, first on stage, they had 4 people who shared about their own experiences of having to let go, essentially because of what we would now call burnout, right? Of having experiences of complete, often physical failure after years and years and years of going over their own capacity limits, self-exploitation, um, feeling like they needed to carry the whole system on their shoulders, and failing in doing so. And after we listened to these 4 stories on stage, they invited us in small groups to share about our own experiences in that space. And I think for many of us who are, either activists in real life or activists at heart, who feel they're part of wanting to make a change on the planet, I think from working with these people in coaching relationships, I always find that is one of the biggest pitfalls. It's sort of this not being able to be regenerative with yourself, to not be able to be in a space where you can like truly refuel your batteries to a degree where you feel driven by inspiration and not by desperation. And
by duty.
And by duty, yes. And the duty, yes, of course. So I'm wondering, actually, Peter, have you ever had a moment in your life where you were close to something like that?
I've been very lucky and very privileged. I hear so many people talking about, you need to go through trauma and you need to go through dark night of souls and God knows what. I haven't actually. And I reflected myself, well, have I missed something, or am I is it coming?
Might be your last chapter.
Yeah. and my own take on this is, I think I've always been from very young very curious, and so I think what's happened with me, and I don't know, but not for sure, but I think my curiosity has always pushed me to take risk at some level and jump in to deep water. And I think when I hear the stories, I hear people have very often waited and waited. They know that they have to jump, but they don't jump because they're too scared or for whatever reasons. And then something happens. They get ill, or some crisis appears in their relationships or their families, and then they get into this trauma. So no, I can't say I've had a burnout or anything like that. Nothing like we heard yesterday.
Yeah, nothing
like
I mean, to be honest, I think it's a very happy story to hear that great wisdom can be achieved without, feeling like shit for 10 years of your life. I think that's a definite, it's a positive story to share with the world. Yeah, but just for those of us, those of you now joining us today, tonight, I wondered, in the questions that will open up in a moment, what is your own relationship with that, right? What's your own relationship with taking care of yourself, with being in well-being while doing the work that you believe in, that you think is important, while serving the world in the way that you can? So that was sort of one impulse I took away. The other thing that I wrote down were sort of 2 quotes, or at least fragments of quotes, because I couldn't write fast enough. One of them I really loved. He shared a slide, Nippon did, where it said, "Pessimism is for better times." And I really like that, right? So that made me laugh. Sort of this idea that right now, where many of us might actually be feeling somewhat pessimistic, where I certainly felt like I was punched in the gut last week with everything that was unfolding in the US. So I love this idea that pessimism is for better times. Like, we don't have the luxury right now to crawl in a hole and give up. And the other one was a quote, that essentially said, "Don't invest your time in fighting the system. Throw a better party." And I also really like that, right? This idea that instead of objecting something and being against something, to live the thing that we want to see in the world, and to make it so abundantly attractive that people cannot help but join us in this, right?
Buckminster Fuller.
Yes, that was that. So those were two quotes that really touched me. And then finally, before we'll turn over to you, just, you know, we had a break in the session this afternoon, and just as we're leaving, a person approached Peter and said, you know, he was really triggered by something that Peter had shared about money work. And it so happened to be that he works with underprivileged poor people, you know, in Austria. And he said, so what about reclamations for people who really are poor? Like, you know, how do you, the usual we get, right? Isn't that arrogant? Like, how can you dare to say this is only a question of, you know, them not being evolved enough? And so we got in a very wonderful and actually quite short conversation where Peter then at some point challenged him to reclaim poverty, right? And he said, what does it feel like to you to say, I am a poor man? And it was really fascinating because he immediately got it, and he immediately had a very strong physical reaction to it, right? And sort of realizing in that moment that his whole life work is focused on helping people because he actually doesn't want to touch this feeling with a 10-pole stick, right? That poverty is something that is not integrated in him in any shape or form. And that he constantly actually creates separation between himself and the people he's helping. And so he actually, we took it even further in the end. He was a poor, powerless man. And he fully got that. And then Peter asked him to notice what is on the other side, what happens when he fully agrees to feeling this. And of course, then he was a rich and powerful man. Right. And so there was something really beautiful to me that happened in this moment. Yeah. And the one message that I had for him was to say, listen, you know, when we do reclamation work in workshops, we often have people who come in with very extreme examples from, you know, parts of society that they usually are not necessarily part of, but do work with. And then they say, yeah, yes, but, you know, what about, you know, people who live in Kenya? And it becomes very general. And I said, listen, at the end of the day, our experience that every reclamation process is such a deeply personal process that it's very unhelpful to talk about, you know, those people. It doesn't really add anything to the conversation. So the only thing you can do is do your own work, working with the people you work with and the community that you serve will be served best if you are fully integrated. And then maybe you can help some of these individuals to do their own process. But every process is going to be different. Just because from the outside they look like they're belonging to the same demographic doesn't mean they have the same topics with money, with poverty, with being disenfranchised. Right. So that was
it was beautiful. It was a beautiful process. And I just wanted to share one more thing. I also then asked him, after he'd been into this, and you could see him, he said, now I'm fully in my body. And he was saying, it was, you know, looking and feeling great. I sometimes ask this mean question. So can you describe the feeling in one word or two words? And when I ask that question, I've done it in my seminar, I always find that the people who I ask this can never identify the proper words for what they are feeling. And with him, I had to tell him what they were. And the words, when he said, you know, I'm feeling like a poor man, but it feels now wonderful. The two words were rich and powerful. And you see that when you are, for years and years, you've been denying this part in yourself, and you reclaim it, you can't even identify the feeling anymore because you think you're powerful, but you're not really powerful. You know, I said, you think you're rich, but all you've been doing, and this really hit home for him, you've been denying your poverty.
And fighting feeling poor.
Fighting feeling poor and calling that being rich. So when I asked him to identify what the feeling was now, having reclaimed his poor man, it was impossible for him to identify that that was actually about what feeling rich was about or feeling powerful was about. And that really, you could see that really rang home on when I said it. He said, "Oh God, I really get this now."
Yeah.
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 So I just wanted to share that, because that is what happens with all of us, actually.
And actually, before we do our mini breakout session ritual, I was wondering, Katharina, since you're here with us as well, is there anything that you feel, because I know you've sort of done your own process and not necessarily even participated in some of the sessions, but I'm still really interested in where are you now? What feels rich or interesting, alive for you in this?
Wow. There's a lot to say and nothing to say. First of all, I'm really glad to get a glimpse of your experience here, which I wasn't part of in the afternoon. It's really interesting. So really right now, I found it fascinating, Peter, that you shared that you did not go, like in your lifetime with your work, that you did not go through a deep crisis or so, because at the moment I'm really at the moment surrounded by especially women who are sources of quite big projects, who are really like super inspiring, strong women with amazing projects who are hitting a bit rock bottom, because also my understanding is what I bring into the world through me, it goes through my structure. And so in that project, I see a mirror of myself. And it's not a simple reclamation. It's really like, yeah, they're leaving the project, or they're taking a break from the project, or one even got chucked out. And at the moment, I am actually in a space of demut. Don't know the word. Accepting this, or I'm really touched. I'm touched by this. I'm touched by this process and what they, and also I, went through a point of like this, are going through. And that for me at the conference here, I'm distancing myself actually a bit from the hope that is being spread. So I hear this thing with pessimism is for better times. I hear it and I get it, but I'm not feeling optimistic right now. I just want to do what I'm doing. I don't need that it's great. I don't need that it will change the world. I just want to do what I feel is my thing to do, and that's enough for me. Yeah.
But the interesting thing, Katharina, when I listen to you is, and we can do our thing whether or not we're pessimistic.
Yeah. Or optimistic.
Or optimistic. Yeah, exactly.
And what I want to say, I don't need to be pessimistic or optimistic. I don't care. I just want to be receptive of what is coming through and step up for doing that.
Yeah. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for you and where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right on. You're right on track, because this is, you need to look after yourself. This was the message was coming through yesterday, that people were not looking after themselves. And if you don't look after yourself, how are you going to help anybody else? Because you have to start with yourself. I think maybe that's been what I realized, maybe coming out of the business world, which is very egocentric anyway, or has been, that maybe we business people learn looking after ourselves to an extreme, of course. And we have to get away from that. But for those that are wanting to help the world, you need to really put yourself in there and help and make sure that you're okay, before you can't help anybody else. Or what I think our friend Agnes would say is you're using what's not going on well in the world to try and escape.
Yeah.
make yourself feel good, but it's not, doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to share two more things that are my learnings connected to source, that I'm also at the moment distancing myself from the great visions. You know, we all need this and the world will be better. Going through my own really deep process with my projects, I realize at the base, I did and I'm doing this for my very intimate personal need that I have with the people that surround me. So what I'm bringing into the world, it's super personal, and it's also a personal need at first. And going through the processes, I can relax in it, and it can, you know, be for the world as well. But it's not. I'm not here to spread a big vision. If I'm deeply honest, what I'm bringing, it comes out of a very intimate place in myself. Yeah. And the other thing I forgot right now. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Katharina. And actually, yesterday, one of your friends was sitting on stage and sharing something about her experience, and I was deeply touched by the simplicity of her message in a way, right? Because this acknowledgement that it is not about saving the world right now, so that there is a surrendering to the problems of the world are too big for us to fix, and at the same time not a collapse, but sort of a focusing on what is the small thing that I can do, right? And being happy with the small circles that I can influence, and yeah, not feeling like I have to take millions of people along. No, if I do a good job with 10, then that's amazing. And if that's my family, then that is a fantastic place to start, or maybe even the place to end. I don't know, but I really love this distilling down to something much more humble.
I got it back now, and I think it suits a little bit to what you shared. I would like to share with you that from those women that I just told you about, who are all going through these crises, we've shown so much past trauma, childhood things showing up. For some of them, the choice was to leave the project, and it's the right choice. And for one of them, it's the choice to take a break and go on a sabbatical for a year, you know. And for me, I was so many times at the point of quitting, so many times in the past years, and listening deeper, I always received that that's not the way. It's, for me personally, in my project, it was the way to stay and to go through the mud. And this also has to do with what I shared before, that it's somehow so simple. I want to listen and bring this into the world and go through the mud while it's happening, and go through the joy while it's happening. But that's what I'm focused on. Yeah. And it's bringing flowers at the moment. The lotus flower is arriving, and I'm so glad that I'm staying. Yeah.
And as Nadia said before, everything, you know, each situation is so individual. So you can't generalize and say this is what people need to do. We need to really look at each situation completely individually. And as it was pointed out several times on stage today, you know, it's an artwork we're involved in. It's not a science, a general science. It's a work. For each situation, it's a work of art. So, you know, in one moment you might still decide to leave the next moment, but stay in the moment after. Who knows?
And for some people, this is the right thing to do. Also, but for me, it's about listening. Yeah, and staying true to that. Thank you.
Yeah, so let's do just an 8-minute quick check-in with one other person here in this space. You've heard us talk for a while. You heard Katharina's sharing, and we're really interested in what bubbles up for you, what might come up just as an insight, as a comment, as a question. So you have 8 minutes to connect to one person here, and then we'll see you back in 8 minutes. So see you on the other side. Okay.
Désolée Stéphane, j'ai fait la manœuvre, mauvaise manœuvre.
Okay, let's just wait for 30 seconds or so for people to come back, joining us slowly. Yeah, so everybody, the floor is yours. What's coming up for you? And actually, I just realized I wanted to read the comments in the chat, which is better with glasses. Okay. Katharina, Clarissa asked you in the chat if you want to answer her, you can. You'll type it. Okay, great. Yeah, so what's alive in you right now? What came up in the conversation? What's resonating? You know the rules of the game. I will talk to you.
Yeah, no, I will.
Christina, hello.
Well, Annalisa and I had a very, or from my perspective, it was a very joyful and pleasurable exchange. And so what's bubbling up is just to be patient and go step by step. That's what's bubbling up for us, or at least for me. Hope for Annalisa too.
Yeah, the big patient. Big patience is a big part of it. What else is coming up also in terms of questions, how it relates to either source or money or love and business, because that's why you all came.
Maybe I just wanted to share that I've been going through this whole process that you have described. And I'm now in a very, very joyful place. So there's hope. It's possible.
So you went through sort of a burnout depletion phase.
Not really burnout, but 10 years of nightmare. And so not what this Peter was describing before, but I've been into it. And I just came out, let's say, really, it started the last year, but I really came out of it this summer with all the grieving, the illusion going away and so on. The deconstruction, deconditioning, assuming the source. And right now I'm a very, very joyful place in this, with dealing with small circles of people.
So Corinne, if you were able to travel back in time and give yourself 10 or even 15 years ago any advice or wisdom, what would it be?
Don't resist, don't fight.
And what do you mean by don't resist, don't fight?
I've been fighting. What you said at the beginning, don't waste your time fighting the system, because I have been very rebellious all my life, always evolving in masculine worlds in business, or coming from finance and entrepreneurship. And I've been fighting against the patriarchy. And I think this resistance caused a lot of suffering to me, but I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's letting it through, and probably it would have come up easier, but who knows?
There are many doing that right now. You can be really helpful to many, many people right now.
I would love so, because I know there are many people, men and women actually, and all genders, whatever. Yeah, I would love that, because I think I never thought that I would come out of it at some point. And I thought, I'm 63 and I've been successful in the past, but with a lot of heavy weights on my feet. So now I'm much lighter.
Corinne, let me ask you something concrete. So, because the patriarchy is in a way the big meta container in which everything unfolds that is unfolding right now, right?
Right.
So how do you, just from your perspective with what you've been through, how do you self-actualize? How do you do what you want to do or think you need to be contributing in the world, even though this container exists?
Good question. I don't look at this container anymore. And since I'm dealing one-on-one in certain relationships right now, I am just feeling inside, okay, does that feel off, or am I in integrity? And I give myself time to decide, redecide, and choose love rather than fear, and respond. And yeah, allow myself to respond, not in the immediacy, but let it sink into my body.
Okay, amazing. So what I'm hearing there really is a very embodied process where you've developed yourself as a point of reference by tuning inwards and really listening to what is happening inside.
Yes, yes. And allowing myself the time to let it sink in, while before I was fighting it inside. I don't want to feel that. It's really harmful or whatever. So I was fighting myself. So I was in conflict with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very interesting you share this, because one of the sharings yesterday that in the same group that Nadia talked about before, there was one man there who claimed that in order to carry out his function, which was actually a lot to do with government, he had to separate himself as a person from his function.
Yeah.
And he made himself a kind of hero there in saying that. Everybody sort of clapped, and he had a reputation of being a real tough nut negotiator who was successful. But I had big question marks while he was sharing, because he shared with us also, when he was not in his function, how vulnerable he was. And he actually, on stage, looking back, broke into tears. And for me, the moment he did that was the most powerful moment of his whole sharing. And I really questioned, I understand the necessity, if you're not that conscious, to go out of your person and take over the function and just be functional, if you're not that conscious. But I think at a certain point, to be really impactful, you have to allow that functional aspect to disappear and just be yourself.
Yes.
That's what I hear you're doing. That's what you...
Yeah, exactly. I agree, because at some stage I was working with horses, and I realized, oh my God, I'm completely different when I am with my business costumes or whatever, and with my horses. So there is kind of a gap, and this is not me. I mean, not me in the business setting with all these fancy decorations, let's say. And so this process took me time to realign myself and get rid of these business, the pitch decks, whatever, that are not the function. This is all bullshit. Sorry. Now I can say it because I think I've so much embodied my experience and how I am now. And this has actually reinforced my confidence in myself. It's now like I feel right now in my project, I feel like I'm completely engaged in the now. And no doubt, I never experienced that before. Huh? Never.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Corinne, I just had this image that all of us, if we don't happen to own a real horse, imagine in the next meeting or whatever we have, that there's a horse standing in the corner, just sort of looking at us, going just as an integrity check, right?
We heard also as in presentation that having a horse near you is the best way to align your nervous system.
Correct. Yeah, I've done a lot of work on my nervous system too, because it was like too much in sympathetic mode. And that's why I had to slow down. And it was very difficult because all my life I've been rushing. I was like in sprint all the time. And you cannot regenerate when you are like that.
Hmm. See, so now instead of having an imaginary friend, we all need an imaginary horse to self-regulate and to have an integrity check.
A pack of horses, actually, because they regulate themselves.
Yeah, it's even better when you have a herd.
A herd of horses, yeah.
You're very cramped conference room, but okay. Thank you.
That's why I have done a lot of work on my nervous system and the polyvagal theory and so on. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay,
Pleasure.
what else is coming up for you? Who else wants to share something? Annalisa, somehow I'm drawn to you. What is happening in your head and heart?
Yeah, during the last time I feel exhausted. I helped my sister to manage the movement of my mother into a assisted living group. And since yesterday I'm back, but I experience for a very long time already this waiting for the right moment to start or to do the next step. It feels like always a little bit handicapped. Visions come and go, and I know what I would like to bring into the world, but it seems to be very, very big. And in the breakout room, I found, or I got back the next step, what I can do to talk to a friend or colleague who asked me already to share or to work on the vision, the next step.
Can I interrupt you for a moment, because I have a completely different impulse, and I don't know if Peter, you agree. Can I do a mini experiment with you?
Yes, you can.
So what happens when you say I'm completely exhausted?
There is a little bit resistance against this.
True? Is the statement true? What would be the word that you would use for the current state you're in? Not where you want to be, but you're in.
My mind is very my mind wants to start and my body is tired.
Okay, start there. I'm tired. Try saying it and just notice what happens.
Okay. I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I'm sad about things that happened in my past very long time ago.
Yeah, just acknowledge, because that's the other thing I feel for people with big visions is we often want to be at point B before we have even taken in point A. Yeah, and to give that feeling a little bit of space, before you start running off again. So to say, give myself permission to be tired and to be sad. Try saying it and just see what happens in your body.
I'm tired and I'm sad.
And I allow myself.
And I allow myself to be tired and sad, yes.
What do you notice?
A little bit more space.
And allow it to be even bigger. I always say allow your sadness and your tiredness to take up as much space as they need right now. Not more, but just as much space as they need. And imagine that they are like an energy field, or maybe even just water. And just allowing this puddle to grow as big as it needs to be, the sad puddle.
For the moment, it feels like a sea, really.
Yeah, and notice how big the sea is. Yeah. And say it's okay to be this tired and this sad. Try saying it again. And everybody else who connects to that, you can do it right with Annalisa. I'm sure she's not the only one.
I'm tired and I'm sad, and I allow myself the space to be like this.
Just notice your body in that. And in a way, you know, Annalisa, with saying that, you give all of us permission to feel that place in us, because I for one can say I have that place, right? And by you allowing your sea to be this big, I just noticed that there was an expansion in me too. And just sort of as a gut reaction question, how long do you think you have to allow yourself to be so tired and so sad?
Like a few days. The answer comes to me. I don't know where.
What would it look like if you allowed yourself to be this tired and this sad?
What do you mean with what does it look like? A picture?
To create the right space for you to be that full.
Okay.
Do you have a sense?
Not really, no.
But I would say, let me add on then. Let me help. Let's say for a few weeks, not just a few days, and really enjoy it. Like taking a big warm bath and really enjoying it.
And moping in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that feel? The idea to give yourself full permission to be mopey and tired and sad.
For even a few weeks.
There's still a part within me that says, no, I don't want to. I don't want to feel that for a few weeks. I want to allow myself. I wouldn't like to feel like that for a few weeks.
Yeah. But you know, it brings me back to what Peter was sharing with this gentleman today who didn't want to feel poor, right? Fighting to not feel poor is not the same as feeling rich.
Yes, yes. I know it. My mind knows it. But if I'm honest, I say I don't want to feel it still.
I get it. But in this case, I would say follow Corinne's lead with really just feeling your body in this, because your body reacted just fine to that invitation. Your body knows. Yeah. And the impatience or the at least in myself, I often felt in the past that the reason why I don't relax into this sea of tired and sad is that a part of me used to be afraid that if I drop in there, it will never come out. Yeah. But life has taught me, I'm now old enough to know that that is actually not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the opposite happens. If I really allow myself this collapsing into, there is a point when I truly don't need it anymore, but it comes from a very different space than trying to not go there.
It's like spring follows winter. Whether you like it or not, it follows. But winter follows autumn. And if you resist winter, you're continually in autumn, hoping for spring.
That's a task, yes. Lisa, I'm so grateful that you allowed that you allowed us to poke you a little bit.
Thank
I
you.
think it's for the service of the whole group. I'm pretty sure people took vigorous notes, going, "Okay, I'm very tired and I'm sad and it's big as a sea. It's okay."
Yes,
so
and
much.
it's okay to stay in bed for a few weeks.
Yes. Yeah. Because there will be a point where you just cannot do that anymore,
Yeah.
because inspiration will bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But to trust the process, sort of your body will take you there.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to remove the spotlight videos again. Okay, so we already got, time always flies in these sessions, but who else feels resonance with something, wants to share something, your own experience? Hannah, I'm looking at you. What's going on for you?
Hi, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's the first time that I joined one of these sessions, and I was very curious to explore more about your work after our conversation and after my discussion also with one of the attendees today who's from Morocco as well, Muna. I had a very nice chat actually about this moment in time that feels like a timeout. I was sharing that I'm just back from San Francisco. This year has been intense and in beautiful ways for me because I went on a book tour and I presented my book in 12 different countries. So I've been on a roll, and I'm just back from this massive event which had 1,500 attendees, and I emceed there. So it's been like, very, very active. And yet I find myself now in this still point, which is good because I needed it. My body needed it. I was sick last week, so I was kind of like, I obviously need a break. But then it's also a bit daunting because there's almost like an identity shift of who am I when I'm not so active, always on a plane, planning my next speaking engagement and so on. And at the same time, I'm birthing something. So I'm working on a program to support Black, Indigenous, and women of color founders. So obviously the theme of relationship to money is super important, because we talk to change makers that go to their very maximum and then they hit walls, and it has to do with some of the things that they need to shift inside and conditioning and such. But yeah, I'm in this very weird place of like birthing a new life, and being in another cycle and rhythm, and it feels nice and also like a strange place for me. So I'm trying to appreciate the sweetness of it, as in, it's full of opportunities, emergences, and so on. But then myself, who knows how to organize and do and plan and reach out and is all constantly relentless, it's kind of like, I want to be back here. So yeah, so this is about me in a nutshell.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, and for everybody here, Hannah was interviewed this year about her book for the ConsciousU newsletter. So I'm going to put that in our session notes afterwards, the email that goes out, so that you can read the wonderful interview that Robert did with you. Yeah, so let's just see if there's anyone else who feels anything needs to be put in the space before we come to a close today. Something that you, just as a gold nugget.
It's interesting that nobody seems to have questions today. But it's wonderful.
I do.
Joop has a question.
I do have a question, Peter, which has been there from the beginning of this session, actually before the start, but I don't know whether it's really appropriate. You will tell me. I'm really wondering. The event in Japan has now been a while. Nadja has been organizing some beautiful follow-up sessions, which I highly enjoyed. But I was wondering, from your perspective, what is happening? Where are we? And what might be next? So, but it felt a little out of order but then ask me anything sort of allows me to ask
anything perfectly in order.
So I just want to say one thing. Anybody who has a sharp stop now, you can of course leave, and it will not be rude at all. So thank you for having been here. But we want to give Peter the space to answer your very good question.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because in a sense, Japan. Let me start with a failure. So the people that came were not the people that I had in mind at all. And I'm very happy to talk about that and to tell people that, because the people I had in mind were the people who, like Otto Scharmer and famous people who are leading big events and big networks, summits and so forth, communities. And they were disappointing. But when I tune back into what we did, we planted the seed for what the project is about. And I have done my work there in terms of manifesting my promise, which was to plant the energy and the seed for a long-term project. And it's planted in Japan for the continuation of the vision that I had and further events. And what I've done is I've done a succession process to the person for the next event.
Who's Japanese.
Mm-hmm. Alexander Inchbold is continuing the project as the source of the whole long-term project. I've also transferred the source of the tour, which actually I had forgotten that I was the source of, but Alexander has taken that on, which was fantastic, this tour. And I'm now actually feeling, and I've offered myself, and that's where I am because the project is so close to my heart. I feel like a free roving ambassador. So I'm actually sharing it where I can here. And, I'm already, I think, generating people to come for next year, like Christian Felber here is already, I had lunch with him today. He's going to Japan next month. He's got another network which is doing his book and presentations. And I said he must meet, of course, with all the people that we know there. So I'm looking to talk to Aaron Pereira, if I can get hold of him, who's the source of the Hearth summits here. He gave a very nice little talk yesterday. Nippon Mater, I see as a real potential. I'd love all these people to convene at least next year, the ones that are running summits, and all the people that I've invited up to now who didn't come this year are potentials for another time. So I feel myself personally, I feel, I'm going to put more, go back to putting a little bit more attention on my field, because a lot of attention I put on the Summit of Summits just to get it landed, and not so much on my field. And just to share with you the blessing out of this, and even the complaints and criticisms that came to me for putting less attention in my field. I've transformed that in terms of my interior process, because I've always given a lot of attention where I put my presence. Because I have a feeling, I've always known my presence is helpful in some way or other. That's why I'm here too. I think so. I like to have that arrogance to think my presence is helpful. But what I hadn't realized and hadn't focused on is how my absence can be helpful too. And I'm now going to put much more attention on when to be absent and how that can really create good stuff as well. And that was part of my learning in this whole process. How not to be somewhere can be as helpful as being somewhere. So that's my brief sharing, you dear friend.
Thank you very much, Peter, very much. I mean, do you know Gerhard Schöne's song Der Laden?
No.
You should listen to it, and you know why I said you should listen to it. He ends, it's a beautiful song, Der Laden from Gerhard Schöne, and he thinks about what people want, and then it ends with that it's not products that you sell, it's the seeds that you plant. to work on them ourselves. I'm sure you'll love it.
Oh, thank you. As you're just online, I want to share one thing. I had lunch also with before lunch, it was in the break with a Dutchman here. And you may know him maybe. His first name is Beert Versema or something. And he's the founder of a system which trains rats to...
Yeah. Yes, it's incredible. But yeah, it's not for him, but it's incredible. Yeah, I know.
So he's in a second life right now, leading meditations. So there's hope for all of us.
No. Yeah, so lovely people. We are out of time. Let me just make a brief advertisement for the next From Normal to Natural interview that we have coming up between Alexander Inchbald and Jody Toda, one of our Japanese contacts and CEOs. I will put that in the email that goes out to everybody who is registered. And of course, those of you who are part of the Conscious Tribes community, that's already on the calendar there as well. So yeah, let's do our little ritual where you find somebody in a tile next to you to connect to.
I love this tile. It's a real tile.
Yeah, it really works. I don't know. They changed something on Zoom. It feels so real. Take care, people. Have a wonderful evening and make yourself loud so we can hear some voices.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Enjoy the summit.
Tschüss. Tschüss.
Tschüss.